Welcome back. In the previous step, we established the connection between Spring Cloud Config Server and the local Git repository. We were able to say localhost 8888 limit service slash default and retrieve the configuration for that specific service. Now, the other question is we would want to be able to store configuration for multiple environments. So this limit service might have a dev environment, a QA environment, and a stage environment. I'd want to be able to store the configuration for all those environments inside the Git repository. How do I do that? Let's look at that in this specific step. Earlier, we created a simple file, right? Limits-service.properties. Now, this becomes the default configuration. So, whatever values are present in the limit service becomes the default configuration for the limit service. However, you can override them for specific environments. How do I override them? I can make a copy of this file. I would now say I'm copying the same file and pasting down there, and I would now say limits-service dev.properties, and I'll also create another file limits-service qa.properties. So we have a dev.properties. In the dev.properties, I'll put 1 and 111, and in qa.properties I would put 2 and 222. So what we are specifying in here is by default this is the value. So the minimum is 8888, but in dev environment for limit service the minimum is 1. For QA environment it is 2. You can specifically decide to override only the values you are interested in. Let's say you would want to pick the default for the maximum, then you can comment this out. Then the maximum value for the dev environment, it would pick up from the default file. The default file is limits-service, so it would pick up the value from here. The minimum value, we are overriding it in here. The other thing you can do is completely remove this line as well. For now, what I'll do is I'll override all the values which are present in here. So for dev, the minimum and maximum are 1 and 111 respectively, and in QA it's 2 and 222 respectively. Now, before I would be able to see these values using the URLs, what I would need to do is to commit these files in. This is one thing you need to always remember. Whenever you're making changes to your files inside the Git local config repo, make sure that you commit them in. You need to commit them to the local repository, and only then they will be available through the Spring Cloud Config Server. So let's go ahead and commit them in. What's the command? Do you remember it? I'll say git add -a to add all the files in. If I do git status, it would show what are the changes that are present. So I'm saying git status, and it shows, okay, a new file, couple of new files are present. So now I can go ahead and commit them in. So git commit -m, I would want to put the commit saying dev and QA properties. Okay, they're added in to the repository right now, and now I can access those properties. All that I need to do is, instead of the default, I need to put in the environment name. So let's say I put in QA. Now you can see that when I put in QA, here it is retrieving a list of property sources. One of the important things is these list of property sources are in the order of priority. So the highest priority is for whatever values are configured in the QA file. So limit service QA.properties 2 and 222, and the next priority goes for the default. So limits service.properties. So if there is a value which is configured in here, so for example this value, the value for this is 2. So if there was a value which was inside the default which was not present in the QA.properties, then the value from the default will be picked up, but whatever is present in the QA has the highest priority. So whatever is present in limit service QA.properties has the highest priority. For now, all that we are seeing is the list of property sources that are being written. What we'll do at a later point in one of the next steps is connect the limit service to the Spring Cloud Config Server. What we are doing right now is connecting Spring Cloud Config Server to Git. In a later step, we will connect the limit service to the Spring Cloud config server, and you would see that these specific values are being picked up. That's QA. What you can also do is the values for dev. So I'm saying /dev, and now you would see that limit service dev.properties, that is the highest priority, 1 and 111, and the next priority goes to limits service.properties 8 and 888. Don't worry about the fact that the property values are repeating in these two different files. We will look at the fact that when I connect the limit service to the Spring Cloud config server, it has the logic to be able to determine which is the one which is having the highest priority. So it knows that the first file has the highest priority, and if you ask for the value for limit service.minimum, it will return the value 1. It will not return the default because it's overridden down here. In this step, what we have done is we have configured multiple values for the limit service in dev environment, in QA environment. One of the exercises you can try and do is to configure a couple more property files for the stage and the production environments for the limit service. Until the next step, bye bye.